This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
I'm Roby Brock. Welcome to this edition of Talk Business and Politics Daily. Here are your top stories of the day, courtesy of Paul Gatling, editor of our sister publication, the Northwest Arkansas Business Journal.
Talk Business and Politics' Roby Brock participated in today's White House press briefing via Skype and asked for clarification on President Donald Trump's approach to regulating marijuana in states where voters have approved some form of legalizing the drug. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer responded to Brock's question by saying the president understands the pain and suffering many people go through, but noted the, quote, big difference between medical and recreational marijuana. In a follow-up question from another reporter, Spicer said the Department of Justice would decide how it enforces the law with respect to states allowing recreational marijuana use. Arkansas voters approved the state's medical marijuana amendment in November, and lawmakers are drafting legislation to implement the constitutional amendment. Some legislators, though, have discussed delaying implementation until the feds draft a new policy or change the law. An investment firm in Memphis, which has an ownership stake in Deltic Timber, disclosed in an SEC filing Wednesday that both companies have been approached about a buyout of the El Dorado-based natural resources company. In the filing, Southeastern Asset Management said it switched from a so-called Schedule 13G designation to a 13D because it wants to play a bigger role and possibly even participate in talks to help Deltic, quote, enter into discussions with third parties concerning proposed corporate transactions of a significant nature. Deltic shares ended Thursday at $81.03, down 1.8% on the day. And finally, officials at America's Car Mart say they expect to be busy the next few weeks as tax refund checks begin reaching customers. The Bentonville-based used car dealer said a delay in refunds caused by a new law that requires the IRS to hold refunds until February the 15th impacted its third quarter sales. In the quarter that ended January 31st, the company's earnings fell 30% to $2.82 million, or 35 cents per share.
That's Paul Gatling, editor of the Northwest Arkansas Business Journal, part of the Talk Business and Politics family. A quick break, and I'll play a portion of my recent interview with Representative Bruce Westerman. He says a new committee assignment could be beneficial for Arkansas. And later, Dr. Jay Barth of Hendrix College on how he interprets those latest poll numbers on medical marijuana.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
Representative Bruce Westerman is in his second term in Congress. He's been a member of the Budget and Natural Resources Committees in his first term. This session, he picked up a new third assignment, Transportation and Infrastructure. How might that help Arkansas? You're on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee now. The president wants to do a $1 trillion new infrastructure spending package. At least that's been the talk. You're a budget hawk, a fiscal conservative, so I know you're not going to raise taxes to do this. Where are you going to get $1 trillion for infrastructure? Do you support doing something different?
Yeah, that's another big issue that we're working on. I don't think anybody would deny that we need to do at least maintenance on our infrastructure. In my district in particular, there are a lot of big infrastructure projects that I think would be good for the economy there in the 4th District. When you look at Interstate 69, Interstate 49, you look at the miles of navigable rivers on the Arkansas River and the Ouachita River, and even there's talk of making the Red River navigable up to Texarkana from Shreveport. So there's no end of infrastructure projects that could be done in the 4th District that would be beneficial to my district and the state and the region. But the hang up, as you mentioned, is how do you fund that? So I've been working on that as well. I serve on the Resources Committee. I'm on the subcommittee on Energy and Minerals, and we're looking at a way to be able to use some of our vast energy and mineral resources on public lands to generate money to fund infrastructure projects. If we look at the infrastructure needs just on federal lands, and we're talking about the Park Service, the Forest Service, the Bureau of Land Management, we've got over a $20 billion backlog just on infrastructure needs on federal lands. So I think we've got to use a lot of different mechanisms to come up with ways to fund infrastructure. The tax policy that we're looking at could possibly free up money for infrastructure projects. If we see a lot of onshoring of foreign funds, there's talk of doing some public-private partnerships where the government spends part of the money and private organizations come on. Those type projects could be used in some instances, but it's certainly not the cure-all for everything. But in the end, we've got to find a long-term funding solution so that we can maintain and build new infrastructure, which is vitally important to our country. I think it's a function of the federal government because it deals with interstate trade and interstate commerce. So that's another area where I've been doing a lot of work. And if you look at the opportunities we have right now, there's no shortage of me trying to find things to work on during the day here.
Well, you're on the budget. Well, you're on the budget
and most of the night.
Well, you're on the budget committee also. So, kind of, where do you find $1 trillion? Where do you find $100 billion a year? I mean, you've mentioned some things, but you're talking 20 billion here or 5 billion here, but I mean, we're talking trillions of dollars is what the needs are. Where does that money come from? How do you find that for the budget?
Right, and I don't believe the number is $1 trillion in the infrastructure project. I think he's lowered that down, but even if it was $5 billion, we don't necessarily have that money right now, so it's going to come back to prioritizing. We're going to have to look at the part of government that's eating up the most money, and it's in healthcare. That's no secret. If we look at other parts of the budget, there's a shortage in defense spending. There's no end of shortages, and I think the key factor here is we have to have growth in the economy, and that's what fixing healthcare, that's what getting a good tax policy in place will do. I think it'll release a lot of pent-up potential in our country to grow the economy, and when we see that growth, we'll see more people paying taxes, we'll see more money flowing through the system, and it's going to take a combination of efforts that include growth and prioritizing spending.
That's Congressman Bruce Westerman. You can catch much more of our interview online at talkbusiness.net. A quick break and we'll review our latest poll numbers on medical marijuana with Hendrix College's Dr. Jay Barth. We're back after this.
Circuits turn on the lights by making a connection, by closing the loop. At Entergy, we believe our economy is circular too. What you put in comes back. So we invest billions in new infrastructure, which helps attract new industry, which helps create new jobs. We partner with local communities to electrify the economy. And together, we power life. Entergy.
When was the last time you felt free? It's time to uncover that feeling again with the compassion of a cross and shield, accepted by over 90% of doctors and specialists, and the power of a card that opens doors in all 50 states, giving you the freedom to love, to dream, to dance like no one is watching. Arkansas Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Live fearless.
Well, earlier this week, we revealed new poll numbers on how legislators should implement medical marijuana. 50% oppose an effort to prevent Arkansans from smoking medical pot. 51.5% oppose waiting to implement the state law until the federal law allows for it. Dr. Jay Barth with Hendrix College offers his analysis of the results.
We saw not an overwhelming victory for medical marijuana, but a solid victory for medical marijuana last November, and we see exactly those same kind of numbers in terms of the support for implementing it in a way that I think is in sync with what people thought they were voting for. And so we don't see a lot of willingness to delay, to move away from the possibility of allowing folks to use medical marijuana by smoking. I think folks want medical marijuana implemented in as holistic and legitimate a way as possible. And, I think that's what we're beginning to see the legislature do, as some of these attempts to really stymie implementation don't seem to be catching hold in the legislature.
That's Dr. Jay Barth, professor of political science at Hendrix College. You can catch all of our results from this latest round of polling and Jay's analysis at our website at talkbusiness.net. That's all for today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.